All right, all right, all right. We are live. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm just going to give everybody a few minutes to file in. I'm going to retweet my thing, the classic, the normal, the usual. Nothing out of place here today. I hope everybody is doing fantastic. We have so many updates to go over. The lines are moving everywhere. We have updates from Kursk in favor of the Russians. We have updates from Vuledar. We have updates from PRROS direction. We have updates from across the map. So we got a lot to talk about today. It's actually mostly updates, which it makes for a good episode. So lots and lots of updates. Hello, Bubbles. How are you doing? Glad to see you make it in. Let's see. We got people in here from the Philippines, Sicily, Finland. Hello from Russia. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Just going to retweet this real fast. Ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba. And now we're done. Hello from British Columbia. That's where my family's from. I'm a non-natural born Canadian citizen. So I've been to British Columbia a number of times. I love Victoria. The island is like my favorite. It's some of the most beautiful country on planet Earth. So really do appreciate that area. UK, Norway, Ohio, Netherlands, Heerenveen, Netherlands, Portugal, London. What's going on, Scotty brother? What's going on, Arcane? Eclectic. South Africa, Hawaii, North Korea, doubt it. California, Canada, Poland. Oh my goodness, you guys are going crazy in here today. We got people from all over the world, mostly English speaking. So that's good because I only speak predominantly English, a little bit of Spanish, and I can read some Russian. But outside of that, hello. All right, everybody's in here. We are 2 minutes in. All right, before we get started, first and foremost, let me just turn this just a little bit. All right. Welcome everybody in to episode number 93 of Kalibrated Live. I am Scott, of course. Before we get into it, first and foremost, I just wanted to thank everybody for being in here, watching these live streams, watching the chat move really fast is fantastic. I love it. This thing is really starting to develop into what I had hoped it would. So I appreciate you guys more than you know. If you want more access to my content, go to the link in the description of the YouTube video. You will find my Telegram, my Twitter, and my Patreon. There is a new Patreon video up. It's episode 15/16. I had posted a video, but for some reason, when I posted it to Patreon, it didn't have sound. So I just decided to redo it. That is available for everybody for free. All you have to do is sign up as a free Patreon member, and you can get access to that content. And do so because it's just free content for you guys. So go check it out. I do a lot of combat footage and analysis over there. So yeah. Other than that, if you guys are new here, please subscribe. Our numbers have been through the roof. I love it. And give us a like and a comment if you don't mind. It helps me get seen by the algorithm, and we get more people in here from all over the world. Serbia, BC, Canada, Texas, W from the gym. That's the homie right there in the gym, Adam. Uganda. Sweet. All right, guys. All right, let's get into it. We have so many updates to talk about today. Crucial updates. So we are going to just hop right into that. Starting out up in the Kursk region. This is a developing story just today. The Russians have started a counteroffensive on multiple sections of this front. So predominantly, my map has only showed control zones for Ukraine that I'm comfortable that they actually control. So lately, we've been seeing some Russian counteroffensives in this area, over here, just these sort of gray zone areas, really reducing the Ukrainian claimed control. And that claimed control is a lot of empty space. So, it's not like the Ukrainians have thousands of men in this area and they're actively defending this Kursk incursion. It's not enough men to actually hold the entire area. The Russians just have not been aggressively counterattacking. in this area. They've sort of been corralling the Ukrainians, attriting them, and just letting this incursion force really wear down. It's been about 5 weeks now, and the original units that went in are entirely degraded by this point and exhausted. So if the Ukrainians introduced a bunch of reserves into this area, it is possible that they will hold it for longer. But so far, we have the Russians advancing predominantly down this road right here. I know it's kind of hard to see. I might just move this for just a second so you guys can see. You can see that the Russians are moving along this road. This road is an important just logistics line, and it was very important for the Ukrainians, because if you guys remember, the Ukrainians hit the bridges across the Seaman River right here, and it was hypothesized basically that the Russians would have to retreat from this entire area. That never actually ended up happening. The Russians were able to set up multiple pontoon crossings, which the Ukrainians have struck some of them, but were able to maintain positions in this entire area. And now they have pushed the Ukrainians back from the actual cutoff point, which if the Ukrainians had, reached this river, this area would be in a tactical encirclement. Granted that the pontoon crossings were destroyed. This actually never ended up happening. The Ukrainians just did not have the force allocation to push in and capture it. We do have a question. Thanks, Scott. Waiting all day for this. Thank you, the Iranian Putin, for your question or comment. Guys, remember, if you do have questions that you want answered and shown during the live stream, actually, I need to do this, so I'm a little bit smaller. You guys can do that through Super Chats. I will answer any question that is put up in Super Chats on the screen and then answer it that way. And just so you guys know, if you do ask questions, just in the chat, I might not see them because I'm going back and forth between my map and and other things that I'm reading and posting or talking about. So those questions will be answered. If you do ask a normal question, I might be able to get to it, but I might not if I just miss it. Okay, so the Russians have pushed out and have captured an area roughly 30 square kilometers right here. The total progress, according to Russian sources that are going off of Ukrainian claimed control, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 square kilometers. So the Russians are definitely doing some damage to this incursion, this salient that the Ukrainians are holding, and we will likely see this progress. I'm going to be very slow with my updates here in this region. I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to, give the Russians more or the Ukrainians more than is necessary. So I'm going to just go very, very slow on the Kursk incursion for this time being. The next live stream will probably be focused on the Russian advances in this region. Okay, Kursk, no updates. Moving over here to Signifigant, the Russians have expanded their bridgeheads on both sides of the town of Signifigant. Bridgehead, not really a bridgehead, just expanded their zone of control into the forest here and to the south of Signifigant through these fields. And what this means is that the Russians are nearing Petropavlivka. We've seen this place getting bombarded with glide munitions basically nonstop, and cutting of this highway, which will be catastrophic for the Ukrainian defense east of Petropavlivka on the eastern bank of the Oskol. So a lot happening here. These advances are just horrific for the Ukrainians. The amount of resources that the Ukrainians have committed here to holding this territory right outside of Kupiansk has been immense. And these steps back will have cascading consequences on the overall positioning of Ukrainian forces in this part of the Oskol bridgehead. Okay. Moving down to Makeyevka on the Zhybyets River. The Russians have confirmed that they have crossed the Zhybyets River here and have captured almost the entirety of Makeyevka. This is not a major update. This is probably actually several smaller updates that I just sort of didn't pay attention to until they became large enough to map, in my personal opinion. So that's just the situation here. Not a huge amount of change, not a huge amount of pushing in this region overall. Just weak Ukrainian lines, being exposed. Another small Russian advance here in Bilohorivka on the high ground on this industrial mound. Very, very tiny, nothing, overly consequential, but still a small Russian advance. Okay. All right. Moving down here. To the Chasiv Yar front. Now, we have seen a lot more concerted Russian efforts on this front since the collapse of this hill. So along with the two bridgeheads currently in Chasiv Yar, the Russians have advanced into Hihorivka, just north. And this is significant for a couple of reasons. The primary reason is that the primary reason is going to go over here to the topographical map and show you that the primary reason this advance is important. This advance is rather important because you can see that the Russians have gained access through Hihorivka to this high ground here. This high ground runs into Chasiv Yar, so it is vital for maintaining positions in Chasiv Yar for the Ukrainians. It is now lost, and the Russians will be able, or should be able to push along the high ground, along the canal, and really start to prep the advance that's going to, first and foremost, backdoor Seversk, and then set the Russians up along the ridge line for the eventual attacks on Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, Konstantinivka, Druzhka, all of these places back here. Have you seen what's lefty of Vuledar hellscape? What's left of Vuledar? Yes, it is a hellscape, and we will talk about it shortly. Okay, down here to the south, the Russian sources are reporting that that Russian forces have pushed out and captured everything on this side of the canal, the Severodonetsk Canal here, which would be the complete end of the Ukrainian 2023 summer counteroffensive in the Bakhmut direction, completely undone. And this just is not very good for the future of Donetsk, Konstantinivka, as well as Chasiv Yar. If the Russians are able to cross here, remember this was my prediction, was that the Russians were going to advance out. They have captured more than half and the strategic high ground in this region. Now all they need to do is cross over into Stopochke, gain access to this road. Supply into Chasiv Yar becomes incredibly difficult, and Donetsk is basically put into a salient in this way. So this is a vitally important advance here. It's not where the Ukrainians want to be stepping back, but they are. Okay. Moving down to the Pokrovsk front here. Ukrainian sources are now acknowledging that the Russians have advanced and captured most of Horivka. They've been very slow on this reporting, but they are now reporting it as having occurred. There was a small advance outside of Novohordivka here. I just don't know if it actually reached the village of Lizivka yet. If they did, this will be mapped soon. I imagine what this looks like now is something more along the lines of, I'm going to delete this, but just something along the lines of this. Following these tree lines is usually how the battles go. And the Russian front looks something like this. So the Russians are continuing to progress in the direction of Pokrovsk after a small operational pause. However, I'm not mapping this until I have a very clear picture of what's going on in this area. All right, moving down into Ukrainsk. The Russians have pushed into the center of the city from the east, and the city is likely going to fall in the coming days and hours. Most, if not all of it, is in the gray zone, and Ukrainian resistance is not as one would expect anymore from a vital town like this. Once this high ground is captured, the Russians will be able to control the logistics lines into Khrinki from the west, which is, again, pretty vital. They will still be able to push in from Novo Alexandrivka, but it's becoming less and less. We also have reports that the Russians, I think I reported this in the last live stream. I think I made this polygon in the last live stream, but now we have more confirmation that the Russians have captured, and it's actually something more like this, the first couple blocks in the actual city. So let me go ahead and move this out. Something like that is the current situation. Again, we don't know what the situation is for the Ukrainians in this pocket. There were reports that there were a massive number of wounded that were unable to evacuate. I don't know if they were able to make it out. I don't know what the situation is. We haven't got an update from the Ukrainians in this area as of yet. We did have the entirety of Krasnohorivka was confirmed captured by the Russian Ministry of Defense, which means that the town is completely captured. The Russians are always very delayed, like a week usually delayed on their claims of Russian advances and Russians capturing stuff. So the one thing that I would actually trust the Russian MOD on is positive capture claims. That's like one of the only things that I trust that specific MOD on, and it's just because they're so careful and so delayed in announcing. There is more progress in this pocket of Novelske. Obviously, guys, I had told you that I'm going to keep the Novelske pocket green just to show the total territory captured from this collapse. And it is likely that this entire purple area is now under Russian control, and the Russians and the Ukrainians have retreated from Zeleny Pershe down here to Zeleny Druha. Okay, so major advances still happening in the PRROS sector, even after Ukraine rotated every available reserve they had. Basically, the Kursk operation is now in retreat because the Ukrainians had to move so much and focus so much on Pokrovsk after the gamble didn't end up working out for them. All right, now getting down to the final portion of the map that we are talking about today, and that is Vuledar. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Vuledar has been a thorn in the Russian side. It is a linchpin of Ukrainian defense in the south. It has basically kept the Russians from moving up into this area for 2.5 years. The Russians have attempted multiple times to do head-on attacks. There was a general in charge of this in 2022 who conducted these attacks on Vuledar, ran a bunch of armored vehicles into minefields. It was kind of a nightmare. That general, I believe, has been relieved, and there is a new commander in this region. So the Russians are approaching this differently, and that difference would come in the form of just compromising the flanks, as we've seen with a lot of the fortresses that Ukraine likes to reside in. So the advances we have today are a Russian advance out of the coal mine, capturing the Terekon, and basically capturing, basically capturing the entirety of the #1 coal mine here just north of Vuledar. That puts extreme pressure on Vuledar. You're talking about 2 kilometers is what the Russians are away now. And with this natural high ground that they control, they will be able to fire down upon this road. Vuledar's days are numbered, guys. We are reaching the end game here for Vuledar. And it is going to be a breakthrough that the Russians should be able to capitalize on immensely. So the city has been getting hammered with artillery, glide bombs, everything for about 2 weeks now. It's basically at this point prepped for a Russian offensive from the south and the east. The Russians have captured all of Vadyane here to the north, as well as it is reported that they've captured the #3 coal mine. We do not have a geolocation here yet, but it just kind of makes sense considering Vadyane fell, and this is very, very isolated from the next defensive position, which I guess you could say is maybe these tree lines, but more realistically is the town of Bohoyavalenka. So the Russians are incredibly close, and as you can see, I have mapped out the remaining supply lines, And guys, remember that these supply lines are on dirt roads running along tree lines. So it's not a solid connection. And as we approach the rainy months, it's going to get worse. So even if the Russians were to, pause on this front and we don't see any progress, the Vuledar is on the clock just because of the conditions, the ground conditions. Once those ground conditions worsen, so keeping the town supplied is going to be impossible, and the Russians will just be able to advance down the 0532 into the backside of Vuledar, where the defenses are not properly positioned to defend from. So they've already backdoored Vuledar. We should expect Vuledar to fall in the coming days. And if they aren't actually able to push directly in, they will be able to just expand out from here, capture maybe this box of trees right here, something like that, not a massive push. And if they are able to do this, for all intensive purposes, Vuledar is going to be completely encircled. The town will fall. The Russians will move in. They will use this as their new launch point for assaults into this vast emptiness here. And the short-term goal should be Kharkov. I think Kharkov is now the Russian goal in this region. Since PRROS has seen massive troop rotations, do not expect a lot of progress in this direction. The Ukrainians are filling holes here with meat now. So winky face. So the Russians are going to have to work through the Ukrainian reserves before they're able to advance again. We will not see the quick advances up here like we saw over here. But down here to the south, this line is completely compromised. And this is a dire situation for the Ukrainians. They're fighting tooth and nail, trying to stabilize this situation. But as this collapses and as the pressure reaches this line, the Ukrainians are going to have no room to operate here. You can see that the Russians are already halfway down through the line here. So once this Vovocha line collapses, the Russians are going to be backdooring most of southern Donetsk region. There's just no defenses here established to keep the Russians from advancing in this direction past the Vuledar River here. And Kharkov has some major defenses. This is going to be a major defensive position for the Ukrainians. However, once everything is compromised in front of it, Kharkov is kind of backed up against a reservoir. It's very thin and long and will probably be difficult for the Ukrainians to hold, especially because once the Russians reach this area, the Ukrainian army should just be basically beaten into the dirt. All right. If you guys have some questions, go ahead and get some questions in. I love them. I love them. Those are all my updates for today. I have one article that I would like to read, but yeah, the situation is not good for Ukraine. We're seeing massive advances in the south, massive advances on Pokrovsk, important advances on Chasiv Yar, and then some smaller advances in the Seversk northern areas, Oskal River region. Not huge advances. This one around Sankivka is pretty important, but not massive, just active defense measures that are kind of occurring as the Ukrainian lines weaken in all of these areas because of the Pokrovsk and Kursk operations. And as I talked about, the Russians are on the offensive in the Kursk sector. They have recaptured this string of settlements and are pushing from every direction, taking a lot of the gray zone up. I think we will see this Ukrainian incursion into Kursk removed within the next couple of weeks. Okay. So I just have one article for you guys today. The articles are kind of lame lately from the Western media. So, oops. Did not mean to do that. All right. Ukraine braces for hardest winter due to intensified Russian attacks on energy infrastructure. So we actually did get a report. Shoigu actually came out and talked about it. Let me go ahead and see if I can. It's on my Twitter profile. So let me just see if I can find that for you guys real fast. So I'm just going to read this off to you. So yeah, here we go. Interesting. Before Ukraine invaded Kursk region, Putin agreed to Turkey's proposal to refrain from striking energy facilities as well as the merchant and civilian fleets. But Kiev ultimately did not agree to such agreements, Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu said. Turkey proposed to us not to strike energy facilities, not to strike nuclear energy facilities, and not to strike the merchant civilian fleet in the Black Sea. Our president made the decision and said, yes, let's do it. Let's make such a decision. And it was a big surprise for us after some time when the Ukrainian authorities said, no, we are not going to go for this agreement. And hence the Kursk incursion happened. So just as I had talked to you guys about previously, please install AdBlock, bro. I don't even, honestly, guys, I don't even know how that works. I honestly have never even one time thought about installing an ad block. I don't notice this stuff. I don't know. You guys notice it unless it's like blocking my vision. I just am tunnel visioned. I don't even like Southwest. Guys, go fly Southwest. All right, here we go. Ukraine's prime minister warned on Tuesday that the country could be facing its toughest winter since the full-scale Russian invasion began as airstrikes against the country's beleaguered energy infrastructure intensifies. You guys ever read a word and you know what it is, but it just you've never seen it, like you don't usually see it spelled out, and it just is weird. Russian attacks continue to hammer Ukraine's energy generation capacity, leaving the countries heavily reliant on its 3 functioning nuclear power stations and electricity imports from the European Union countries. Okay, so as I was talking about with that Shoigu comment, let's say Shoigu's comment was exactly what I had talked about. I had made a very big deal about the restarting of Russian energy infrastructure strikes. You know, we saw it in the winter of 2023, but then it sort of stopped. And a lot of people were wondering where they went. We didn't see strategic strikes for a long time. And then come March, April time, the Russians started striking generation facilities again. And what it looked like was that the Russians were going to begin putting a lot of pressure on the Ukrainian grid. And then as the pressure started to mount, you know, they were going to either advance or force Ukraine into some sort of negotiations based off of that. Then obviously this agreement with Turkey came up. By the way, Turkey is saving Ukraine's ass all the time. And well, not really. It never really works out, but they're trying. They're always trying to broker this deal. Maybe potentially to get the Bosphorus open. I don't know what the end goal is for Turkey. Just look like the mediator in the region. I'm not sure. But Putin agreed to this, as Putin does, the diplomat that he is. If you guys want to talk about being soft, that is a perfect example of somebody being of Putin being soft in a position where he has strength. He can continue doing what he's doing, but he chose to you know, go ahead with this proposal. We saw the energy infrastructure strike stop from May, June, July. Kursk incursion happened in August, and instantly the energy infrastructure strikes continue. We've seen generation facilities hit. We've seen numerous substations hit. Odessa is without power. Kharkov is without power. Not entirely, but for the most part. And as this article says, Ukraine is now heavily relying on the energy produced by its nuclear power plants and exported energy from Europe. So this is going to just escalate and deteriorate into the winter months. And I don't see the Russians stopping now. They agree to the proposal. And again, the Ukrainians just lied about the agreement and went ahead and did whatever they wanted anyway. I do think that the Russians and Putin are now entirely fed up with the Ukrainians. There's some talk about negotiations now. From the Russian side even. I think India is pushing really hard for it. A lot of these countries want this war to end for their own personal reasons. I don't really know why India would want it to end because they're selling a bunch of oil and making a ton of money off of this whole thing. But Modi is trying pretty significantly to get the war to end. And I think part of it has to do with a lot of these countries want to get on board with BRICS, want to be close allies with Russia and China. And this war is sort of preventing some of the outlying half and half countries like Turkey, India, Brazil from actually making strong commitments with Russia. And they want this to end so that they can start making those commitments and they don't have to worry about sanctions from the West because of their proximity with relations to Russia. I think that is a huge part of it. But in terms of how negotiations are actually going to go forward, we just had Modi go and visit Ukraine and Zelensky, and basically Zelensky said, it has to be my peace proposal or nothing. Zelensky's talking about achieving peace this fall. It just doesn't seem likely, guys. I just don't see how it happens. And we have news today that Blinken is likely going to be coming to Ukraine in the coming months or in the coming days to announce that the Ukrainians, the AFU, will be able to utilize Storm Shadow, Scalp, and ATACMS for strikes inside of Russia. This isn't going to change anything on the battlefield. The Ukrainians do not have enough of these munitions to actually do anything significant. They will probably hit a few things. Huge embarrassment for Putin, whatever. But again, the casus belli being, look at the West is now giving nuclear-capable strike systems to Ukraine to strike inside of Russia using Western targeting data. That's it. That is the final escalation. That is the step over the red line. If this ends up happening, and I have no doubts that the West is considering this because they're out of options. They have no path forward. Kursk failed. What are they going to do? Start a bigger war. That's their only option. And I think that's actually what they might be going for now. And not a bigger war necessarily with NATO involvement, but a escalated war that solves this Ukraine issue for them while creating a Russian issue that they can use for the next 2 decades to spend whatever they want on their military and basically vassalize all of Europe. Seems like the goal for me. A functioning Ukrainian state at the end of this conflict is a death sentence for Europe's economies, and it's going to make the United States look like they just kind of gave up on what was left of Ukraine. If Ukraine loses in a glorious fight, they will be able to use that for the coming decades, like I said, against Russia. They will have their boogeyman, and they will be able to just focus on that forever. I think that's honestly the goal right now. A destroyed Ukraine is more useful to the West than a rump state Ukraine. If negotiations go through, the West is going to be delivering financial aid to Ukraine for decades. So they have 2 options: let Ukraine die and then have a boogeyman, or keep Ukraine alive and have to support them for the foreseeable future, because Russia took like $4 trillion worth of, not 4 trillion, sorry, billions of dollars worth of, minerals and just the economic struts of Ukraine are in the East, and those have been ripped away by the Russians. So I think that the West is more than happy to watch Ukraine burn and die rather than helping them and helping them to succeed. All right, I'm going to answer some of these questions now. Kalibrated, what will happen after Ukraine uses ATACMS or Storm Shadow inside of Russia? What kind of damage could be done? How will Russia respond? First and foremost, they're probably going to hit air bases. That's going to be the first thing. That's a very bad idea. Russia will have to respond to this. We've seen Russia do this thing where they are not playing into the Western game. They're not escalating in the way that the West wants them to. The West wants them to go full Chechnya on Ukraine. That's what the West wants. But that's not what they're doing. So the propaganda is a lot more work. Maintaining the fight is difficult. The West did not think they would have to maintain this fight this long. So first and foremost, I'm sure they're going to hit sensitive radar equipment, early warning detection stuff. That's kind of been their MO. It's crazy, batshit crazy. Next, airfields, obviously, and then energy infrastructure, I'm sure will also be struck because the Ukrainians care more about sending a message than actually accomplishing something. I don't think that these strikes are going to be overly successful. We've already seen the Russians be very capable at intercepting ATACMS, Storm Shadow, and Scalp. This is not Crimea. It is not an overly exposed peninsula. This is proper Russian territory. And I do believe that you're going to see a pretty decent interception rate on these. But I'm sure that they will do damage. And how will Russia respond? This is a great question. Will they respond directly to the West? I doubt it. The Russians don't want a war like that. The West doesn't want a war like that. I was doubting that this was ever going to happen, just because it's so pointless. It's so futile, but it achieves a negative outcome for Ukraine and a potential positive propaganda outcome for the West, right? So that's sort of the situation we're in. I think Russia will respond asymmetrically like they have been, and they will respond brutally to Ukraine in Ukraine. I would honestly expect them to go for the substations surrounding the nuclear power plants and just put them out of action. That's what I would do. If a single Western missile hit Russian territory, hit a sensitive target in Russia, I would instantly just wipe out Ukraine's grid. That's what I would do. Question. I read that Russia is currently doing a counterattack in Kursk region, gaining 100 square kilometers. Is that true or not yet confirmed? Yes, it is. I talked about that. If you go back into my live stream, you will be able to see it. Here we go. Here is the territory that Russia has reportedly gained control of along this road, these 4 settlements. And this was in a very important area for the Ukrainians, as it was threatening an encirclement of this river basin right here. So, yeah. The Russians are moving in the Kursk region. Scott was raised in a Russian orphanage, trained to be an assassin, and then sent to the U.S. to be activated later. Yeah, I'm the Manchurian candidate, brother. I'm literally salt. Yeah, and trained by Scarlett Johansson. There we go. For real, he said he wasn't going to enable got to make money. Wait, is there stream ads? Can somebody tell me? I actually did something different with my YouTube video, and I'm curious, is there actual stream ads during the live stream? Somebody answer me. I'm actually done with all of my reporting today. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and get questions in. I'm kind of just chatting now. Yeah, I would like Scarlett to train me too. Yes, you had 2 already? Okay, my apologies, guys. I did not know. I chose a different option on the ads, and it was instead of me selecting where I wanted the ads placed, I just let the YouTube do it. And I didn't know that it was going to do it live. Last I heard, I had no ads on my live streams, right? 3rd ad so far. Holy cow. Holy cow. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know. That's my bad. Apologies. Apologies. I don't want you guys seeing ads during my live streams. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I just had selected a thing where, and yeah, like I said, instead of me manually putting in ads, they did it automatically. And I don't think I've ever had ads during the podcast. Do I drink? Not normally. I don't get a lot out of alcohol personally, but I'm good at drinking. I have a very good liver for it, and my metabolism of alcohol is fantastic. So when I do drink, I drink like a professional. Yeah, guys, I am really sorry about the ads. I really didn't mean. I don't mind the ads during the live streams, like during the recorded ones. But while I'm talking, I hate that you guys are going to be missing portions of the live stream because you're getting ads. I don't like that. I don't like that when I'm watching a live stream. So I do really apologize for that. When do you think Iran's missiles will be used in the battlefield? I don't know. I don't even know if they got sent, to be honest. All we have is a kind of source from the Iranian government, maybe saying that they might have sent something, but then we have the foreign minister saying that they definitely didn't send anything. So who knows? It's just one of those he said, she said until it actually happens. He said, she said. Have you heard about Armenia giving air defense weapons to Ukraine? I wouldn't doubt it in the slightest. I think that they've also given other Western weapons. The Armenian-Russian relations are just, I mean, the government in Armenia is backwards and stupid as shit. So they're going to do what they're going to do. And now it looks like Russia is buddying up with Azerbaijan in BRICS. So it is what it is. Don't piss off your neighbors. And it's literally the exact same thing Ukraine did, except it's Armenia and not Ukraine. They're just going to give away all their crap and then hope that the West comes and protects them, and they won't. So. How significant is the capture of the Serx Canal north of Bakhmut? North of Bakhmut, huh? Let's go see. So north of Bakhmut, I'm actually going to just take us over to the topographical map. You can see that the canal is directly on the high ground, and it's on the Russian side, I guess, not on the Kramatorsk-Slavyansk side as much. So the Russians will gain the dominant high ground just by following this canal all the way up. I do expect that this is going to be the move now. Backdooring Seversk and then setting up the front for assaults on Kramatorsk. One of my PRs in the gym, I've told you guys this before, but I'm always willing to answer this question. My bench PR is 405. I've done that 3 times in my life. I don't bench anymore though. My squat is 595. It's like 605 or something. I put 5s on the end or 10s on the end of 585. And then my deadlift is my max deadlift, I think, is close to 500. 495. I posted 495, I know, but I don't know what my max PR on deadlift is. Pounds, not kilograms. Jesus Christ. I'm talking grams? No, pounds. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, pounds. American trash. Question, what will you do after the war ends? Will you quit your live streams? I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I would like to continue doing this. I really like talking about geopolitics and everything. I think we're in for a very turbulent couple decades here, so I think I might be good for a short period of time. It doesn't look like we're looking at an extended period of peace. Does that mean I'm going to just transition into the next conflict? I don't know. I don't know as much about other places, likely. I have started reading up on China a lot. The Middle East is not a point of interest for me. I will talk about it, but I don't care. So, yeah, I would expect that I keep doing live streams. And then if there's nothing for me to talk about, I'll find something else to live stream and podcast about. I love doing this. I like talking. I'm just a talker. So I'll just sit here and talk to myself for hours on end for no reason. Maybe I'll start streaming. Who knows? I am getting a new mic though. I have ordered it, so it's coming in. It's going to be one that it has like a arm thing, and I got a little adjuster thing. So thank you everybody. Thank you everybody who donated and helped me get to that very, very quick. I'm also going to be moving my setup into this other room. Probably as soon as my mic gets here, I'm going to set up my whole studio thing. I'm going to be getting a new background. I want to get a calibrated one. I also kind of want to get like a neon sign. I think a neon sign would be cool. Maybe not on the live stream, but a calibrated neon sign. Thank you for your super sticker, my friend. I appreciate you much. Let's see. Can you give a prediction as to when the Donbass might fall? Stupidest thing for me to do is give a prediction on that. But if the war continues and there's not a negotiated settlement, I could see the Donbass falling definitely in 2025 for sure. For sure. The Ukrainians are going to just deteriorate this winter, and we could see major retreats like from the Ukrainians, like major retreats. I'm not talking backing out of a town. I mean like pulling back here soon, especially if a rout starts, if a line breaks somewhere and the Ukrainians just don't have the means to stabilize, we could see massive withdrawals. Dima of Military Summary says that Russia will respond to the West allowing long-range Ukraine missiles into Russia by nuking Western satellites. No, that's fucking crazy. That's crazy. That's insane. Why? Why do that? Like, what? If you got hit by a nuke, okay, now you got to start doing stuff because this can't stand. But it's not like Ukraine is winning. It's not like Ukraine is going to win. And it's not like these missiles are going to do that much damage. Let's say they wipe 2 full air bases full of aviation and stuff. Horrible. The worst day in Russian aviation history, whatever. Maybe, I don't even know. That's probably not even true. World War II probably had some dark days. But say that happens. What does it even mean? Is it worth starting a nuclear war? Is it worth isolating yourself entirely? No, they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. They're going to win the war. And on the end of it all of those red lines will be shoved down Ukraine's throat and the West's throat. That's what's going to happen. That's literally what is going to happen. All of the responses, all of the escalation, all of the retaliation, why does it have to come in a kinetic form that causes you more issues than it solves? Right? I mean, strike Ukraine all day. I don't know who gives a shit, but nuking Western satellite states? Like, what, are you going to just nuke Poland? Why? What is Poland doing? They're not even the ones allowing it to happen. Nuking Western satellite states, like what, Britain? Like what do you, I don't know what that would even, like, what is that even accomplishing? It's literally nothing. Wouldn't mind seeing gym and gaming videos after the war. Actually, one thing I was considering is I'm trying to buy a piece of land. I want to sell my house and go buy a piece of land and go live away from everything. I want to be able to fish on my property and have a huge garden and stuff like that. So that's my goal right now. That's my life goal. I want to have that by the time I'm like 35-ish. So I really want to start doing, I want to make a second channel that's a camping channel because I love watching camping videos, like no talking, snow falling, those sort of like outdoors videos are awesome. But yeah, sure, gaming. I'm playing Warhammer right now. That shit's so fun. Space satellites. That would be a nuclear war too. If you wiped out early warning satellites, that's just nuclear war. I know what Scott will do when the war is over. He will lobby the Senate to support new wars. Yeah, I'm literally big war right now. Like, you know, we got big pharma, big oil, we got the military industrial complex, and then me, who's just going to be there lobbying to go to wars. I need content, guys. Come on. This is another thing. You can't nuke NATO. Article 5, have you heard of it? Yes, I have, and I don't think it's really a thing. I think it's a bluff. I think Article 5 is a complete bluff. I don't think Washington will trade DC for, Estonia ever. You see how they treat their satellite states in Europe? Even the ones they like Germany and Britain and France. You think that Washington is going to trade, what is it, Vilnius for Dallas? Are you out of your goddamn mind? No. It's all just a bunch of bluffs. And a lot of the aspect I find very funny is that a lot of people are like, oh, Russia's so weak, it's so embarrassing, this, that, and the other. You put the US in the same exact position that Russia's in, where they're trying to keep allies on side, and it's a very publicized war, and they're fighting it. The US is actually fighting it, not via proxy. You would see a lot of the same pussyfooting around that you see from Russia. It's just how things work. You can't be a hegemonic hard ass and do whatever you want all the time and expect to maintain allies and stuff like that. And Russia is doing what it needs to do to keep China, India, Brazil, BRICS all on side, because that's what's necessary right now. Bug out, Scott. Yep, that's the goal. I would vote for moving Gym Talk to this new channel. Hey, listen, Gym Talk comes at the end. The live stream is over for all intensive purposes. I'm just visiting with you guys now because you're the homies. So chill. I'll go back. I won't talk about the gym ever again, just because you said that. It hurt my feelings. Which directions do you think the Russians will go if Vuledar collapses? Up towards Kharkov, north. Scott is the media mogul. Trying, boys. Trying. How come Russia controls less Ukrainian territory than they had at the beginning of the war? So if you're talking about like the Sumy, Chernigov, Kiev incursions and the Kharkov, that wasn't really controlled. It's the same as the Kursk incursion for the Ukrainians. They don't control that territory. They control the roads that go places, but they don't control the whole territory. So it's not like the Russians lost, when they pulled out of Kiev, it wasn't like they lost thousands of square kilometers of controlled territory. They lost Sumy, the city, which they had captured, and the roads, the highways leading around, which they had slightly secured. So you don't hold territory that's not doing anything for you. That's why the Russians control less now, but I guess control less now. They control more of Ukraine now than they have throughout the entire war, like actual control. They have governments set up inside of Ukraine. Can you quickly go over the main pushes? I missed the start of the stream. Thank you. Yeah, sure. So the main assaults now in the Kursk region, large Russian offensive occurring. We have just normal pushing in the Oskal region, but some advances around Sinkivka here, and then down around Makivka here. And then down to the south, the Russians have advanced and captured all of Hyhordivka, as well as have likely pushed the Ukrainians behind the Serx Canal here by Klishchivka. And then down here to the south, this entire front is being pushed by the Russians. This entire front is active, and it could fall at any time. The Russians have also advanced out of Konstantinivka and are approaching Katerinivka, but I don't have an exact geolocation for that advance yet. That will probably be on the next video. Obviously, Vuledar is falling. The Russians have completely reversed the counteroffensive here in Robotny. And then we have the two Russian advances in the Kherson Island region. So the Russians are applying pressure on multiple areas of the map. We have Kursk being having pressure applied. We have the southern Donetsk, and now Kherson is active. Oh, I already said this. Already did this. You guys ask the same questions a lot of times. Numbers game. They have like 2Ks. If they give some to Ukraine, does it mean that they're pushing for war with China forward in time, or are they No, they're not going to send. They're not going to send that many missiles. They're going to send 100 at most. Again, if they're going to send anything, it's going to be 100 at most. It's what they've done multiple times. It's the maximum logistics that they can like sustain into the country without completely sacrificing their entire stock. how bad is the situation in America right now in terms of quality life, immigration, etc.? It's not bad. We live in a first world country. You hear a lot of the bad on the news, like a lot of it. Any of the shootings that happen, like I haven't heard a gun go off probably inside of a city in my entire life. So like, it's not really that bad. People make a much bigger deal out of it. It's much easier to complain about everything. The really shitty part right now is groceries are expensive as shit, like 250% up from like before COVID. And houses are 4 times as expensive. So if you're a young person in America, you don't want to have kids because there's no incentive to have kids at all. It's expensive. The education system sucks. Nobody cares about it. America is a shitty place to have kids. So that's one of the huge issues for us right now. Yeah, I would just say housing prices, the inability for a young American to pursue the American dream, that would be probably some of the biggest issues. Like most Americans don't have $500 in their bank account to cover an emergency event. So tells you a lot. In war games, the U.S. Army wanted 5K JASMs for a war with China. They have 2K. If they give some to Ukraine, does that mean they are pushing for? Oh, wait, you already asked this. No, I don't know, because they can produce more weapons. A war with China is probably years down the road, right? This isn't something that's going to happen tomorrow. So, no, I don't think that they're YOLOing it. But I also don't think that they're going to be able to deliver any significant number of missiles. Like, again, it's just not going to happen. And if the Russians are serious, they will make it very, very, very clear that any delivery of weapon systems and any targeting of Russian territory will be met with a severe response. And I don't mean going out on national television and saying it like they do. I mean a closed door, behind the curtains conversation where you say, if you do this, we are going to respond. Like, we have to. You will leave us no option, and it will be a response that will affect you directly. That's what they should do, because the U.S. is just a big bluff. Like, that's all we do is we bluff. And if you don't call our bluff, we see it as permission to do what we want to do. So you just got to call that bluff. Will BRICS become a worthy opponent to NATO in the near future? Well, NATO isn't an economic alliance, so I don't know. But they will definitely, I mean, if Russia, China, India, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, potentially Turkey, Azerbaijan, Syria, some of these other places, if they're all on the same side and they're pushing hard, I mean, that's already a majority of the world's population. So yeah, they will be able to rival at least the U.S. hegemon, in my personal opinion. All right, guys, that takes us to an hour. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so much. I will probably be doing a live stream tomorrow at the same time, talking about the Kursk incursion. I think we're going to get a lot of updates from that region over the coming hours. And watch Vuledar very close, guys, because it could fall shortly. Literally any day now, we could see the collapse of Vuledar, and that will be a major shift in the front line. Once that happens, that linchpin defense fortification is gone, and the Ukrainians will be forced to retreat to less advantageous positions in the rear. Hopefully, if my prediction is correct, the Russians will go on the offensive at that time and exploit that gap. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate all of you. If you don't want to be bored over the next couple hours, go sign up for that Patreon and go watch that free episode of Demonetized. It is out. It is almost an hour long again. So if you want some more content, see some stuff blow up, go check that out. I appreciate you all so much. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. It helps me so very much. We are killing it, boys. Kalibrated crew, thank you so much. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.